stuck with not getting justice isn't always because the case hasn't, you don't know who the predator is or who the killer is or who it is, but the evidence is so long gone, you can't take them to court. So if you take too long, by the time you find a body, the body's been out there in the elements or whatever, and everything's just been disappearing. Secondly, the predator, the person perpetrator of this crime, is back there. He's washed his car 700 times. He's gotten rid of all his clothing. He's vacuumed the whole house out. Whatever, he's been doing it over and over and over again. By the time you get there, there's nothing left, unless he's really stupid and sloppy. But the more time you give him, the less chance you have of any evidence. So, you show up 20 years later, that car's already been crushed. The chances of doing anything with it are really not going to happen, unless it's something like the child is buried underneath the house. That really helps, because then he's cut, well, somebody must have come in and buried the child in my basement. That's not going to work too well. But, you'd have to get to that point. Otherwise, he can say, well, the child was buried on the edge of the property. I don't know. It could be somebody else. And you might not be able to prosecute. So you have to get there as soon as possible. So the more we go at the truth of what the victim, how the victim might have come in contact with the perpetrator, and what's the most likely thing to occur, not some weird mythology that 1 in 10,000 people this happened to. I mean, you can always come up with that. Sometimes you get that crime and you just go, really? Like, what am I thinking about? J.C. Dugard. What's that? Is that right? Okay. J.C. Dugard. Was everybody surprised when she showed up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we all were like, wow, go figure. Now, that was shocking. And the reason it's shocking is because it happens once in a decade or two. And every parent, every family member wants that to be their missing person, of course. But the fact is, it doesn't happen very often. And it doesn't change how you would investigate. Just to say, my loved one could be alive does not change the investigation, because if they've been grabbed by a sex predator like that creepy dude who grabbed her, he's doing the same things. He's still, would take her back to the house, or you'd still go to his house and knock on his door if you were smart. I mean, that case was horribly handled as far as they should have been all over this guy, since he obviously was a very dangerous sex predator. He should have had really, people should have been going around that backyard a long time ago. I can't believe, he's got tents out there and the state isn't all over it. I mean, that's a whole other story. But when the police were looking, when the state was out there, it should have been solved a long time ago. They should have found her alive, many, many years ago. But the actual methodology doesn't change. So if Johnny Gosch, let's say the guy who took Johnny didn't kill him and put him somewhere on the farmland, let's say he kept him because his parents weren't around, like the Hornbeck case where Sean Hornbeck was found alive, or the boy. It happens rarely, but if you went to that guy's house, if you still narrowed in on him, you'd find the kid there, alive, and you all go, great. But you're not going to find the kid alive. You're off in San Francisco looking for the supposed sex ring that doesn't exist, kidnapping kids out of wherever the heck he got kidnapped out of. So, we want to go to the right place, because that's what's going to make the difference. So the truth, to me, is really, really important. And sometimes the truth is not as pleasant as we'd like it to be, and, but we have to focus on that. And so put your truth hat on, your logic hat on, and say, is this logical? When you go to the police, that's one thing. When you go to the police about things, one problem is that they're pretty jaded, and they've heard it all before. So when you get there and you start going, look, I have another theory, and they're like, oh God, which one is it this time? Which theory have you come up with? And it's theory number 32, and it's all wacky all over the place. Could it be possible? Maybe, but logically it's not. And what that does is it just makes the police detective get surly and makes them go away. So it's very important when you're working with a police detective to really stick to the facts. Just really focus on the facts, because that's what's important. Now I want to talk a little about the use of profilers and PIs. What happened when they brought in psychics, all this kind of stuff. What happens with cases? Clearly people are here because cases did not get solved in the first 2 days, right? That's why everybody's here. This is not one of the better situations where whatever reasons, the police were able to figure it out quickly, and it all got solved, and we all go, yay, it's been accomplished. Awful lot of cases go unsolved, and they go unsolved for a lot of different reasons. One of the number one reasons, does anybody know the number one reasons these cases go unsolved?
They wait too long to all the details.
Huh?
Telling all the details.
Sometimes that's very important. The information is not accurate coming in. Sometimes people will even disturb the scene. For example, they'll find, let's say in a homicide case, they'll find their child been murdered, but they'll find something there that's, makes their child not look so good. So they'll go, oh, let me just take that, and because they're thinking, my God, if the investigator sees this, they're not going to have respect for my child, and then they're not going to go try to figure out who killed him. I want my child to look good. Really, that doesn't have much to do with it. Really, it doesn't. I mean, the detectives are truly into solving cases. They like the notch in their belt. They like to be able to figure it out, and they don't care so much how perfect the victim is. They really don't. That's just not a big issue. The issue is, do I have the information to solve the case? So that's one thing. Sometimes actual evidence is removed from the scene. Sometimes information about the victim just isn't given well enough so that the direction isn't proper from the beginning. Other ideas why things go bad?
I just want to say, me and my sister, we were deathly afraid of our stepfather, and we agreed we would not say anything about the girlfriend or the money he was claiming she took. We didn't lie about anything about our mother, per se.
Right.
But we did, we were so afraid. He had already told, direct command, do not tell anyone, do not go to the police.
Right.
And so we did screw up.
Well, it's
But
really
it was totally out of fear. I mean, if I saw
Exactly.
a joint in the ashtray, I don't care. I would
Right.
have picked it up and smoked it at that point. You know what I mean? I wasn't
Right.
like trying to protect my mother. I mean, we were in fear for our life too.
That's a
at
good-
that point.
That's a
So
really, really good point.
we
Because,
did lie.
yeah,
Or not lie, but we omitted. We
right,
agreed to omit.
from fear. Yeah, and that does happen in a great many cases. Sometimes people will, maybe it'll be a friend, and let's say the girl got into prostitution locally with some guy that was supposed to be a boyfriend, but turned out to be more of a pimp. And another girl was also involved. The family even says to the girl, "What's going on?" "Oh, nothing. We just went to a party." Because it doesn't want to admit, we were also turning tricks there, and that's why we suddenly have so much money, or why this sleazy dude is hanging around us. But some of it's embarrassment. Some of it's you don't want your family to know. So sometimes the truth just doesn't get there. So that's real important. I mean, that's one reason that things go badly, is the truth isn't there. Another reason is just simple fact that sometimes evidence doesn't exist. And I have people sometimes say to me, "I don't understand why they can't solve this case." And I'm like, "I do. They haven't got any evidence. They just don't have a clue." Let's say a person just disappears in the night one day, and their body is found 5 years later in a field. Just got nothing to work with. I mean, and when you call the detective, "Well, we're working on it." "I'm working on it." I don't know what to do with it. So they're just ignoring it. And they usually lie about that. I wish they'd tell the truth and say, "Look, we just don't have any idea what to do with this case. There's simply no evidence we could ever take to court. Prosecutor's not going to do it because there's just no evidence. I don't even know where to look." And that's sometimes a fact. There's some very sad situations where there's just nothing to work with. So you have to have evidence. You have to have the proper information. You have to have good evidence to link something to something. The next big problem is the prosecutor. Prosecutor wants to win a case. I mean, they're political animals, and politics is the biggest problem in investigations. If you want to throw a fight out there, we need to fight for accountability. That's my big spiel, is that we need a 5-year haven't solved case, open up the records so we can find out whether you did your job, and what the prosecutor's sitting on his damn butt when he should be taking this to court. Prosecutor wants to win his case. He wants a 99% win record. And if he thinks it's a little bit shaky, not taking it to court. Just not. And you're going to sit there wondering why this case isn't moving forward. Is because the prosecutor's sitting on it. There's an interesting case where, I want to point out this one too, the money issues. It costs money to take any case to court. The harder the case, the more money is going to be put into it. They have to believe that the citizens care about this case.